Have you ever wondered what speaking in tongues really means? Is it a secret code, a heavenly language, or something else? For many, it's a confusing part of the Christian story, sometimes seen as mysterious or reserved for a select few. But what if the Bible actually gives us a clear picture of this experience? Let's explore the New Testament together, setting aside assumptions, and see what the first Christians believed about this powerful gift. Our journey will take us from Pentecost in Jerusalem to the homes of new believers, and finally to Paul's advice for a church in chaos, always asking, what does the Bible really say? Our story begins in Jerusalem 50 days after Jesus' resurrection, during the festival of Pentecost. Jesus' followers were gathered when a sound like a rushing wind filled the house, and tongues of fire appeared on each of them. Suddenly, they began speaking in real foreign languages they'd never learned. Pilgrims from all over the world heard the disciples declaring God's mighty works in their own native tongues. This miracle reversed the confusion of Babel. God was uniting people through language. Peter explained, this was the fulfillment of God's promise to pour out His Spirit on all people. Speaking in tongues here was a public sign, bridging communication gaps and showing the gospel was for everyone. The Spirit's first act in the church was to create understanding and unity among all nations. After Pentecost, the gift of tongues appears again in key moments. In Acts 10, Peter visits Cornelius, a Roman centurion. As Peter shares about Jesus, the Holy Spirit falls, and Cornelius' household speaks in tongues, proving God's welcome to all, not just Jews. Later in Ephesus, Paul meets disciples who hadn't heard of the Holy Spirit. After hearing the full message and being baptized, they too speak in tongues and prophesy. In both cases, tongues serve as a visible sign of God's Spirit at work, confirming full inclusion in God's family. These moments show that the gift wasn't just for the original apostles but for all believers, breaking down barriers. Speaking in tongues marked the start of a new chapter for these communities. It was a sign of God's power and welcome to everyone. Paul's letters to the Corinthians offer practical guidance on spiritual gifts, including tongues. The Corinthian church was enthusiastic but chaotic, using gifts in ways that caused confusion. Paul explains that tongues are one of many gifts, and not everyone receives the same one. He distinguishes between public tongues, which require interpretation, and private prayer language. In public worship, Paul insists on clarity and order. If there's no interpretation, the speaker should remain silent. The goal is always to build up the whole community, not just the individual. Paul's focused spiritual gifts should strengthen the church, not create disorder. Paul's teaching reaches its heart in 1 Corinthians 13. Without love, even the most spectacular gifts are meaningless. Spiritual gifts, including tongues, are not badges of superiority. They're meant to serve others. Love is patient, kind, and puts others first. Gifts must be used with this attitude. Paul prefers prophecy in public worship because it benefits everyone, while uninterpreted tongues only benefit the speaker. He says, I'd rather speak 5 words that instruct than 10,000 in a tongue. Paul's summary, desire spiritual gifts but pursue love above all. Don't forbid tongues but use them decently and in order so the whole church is encouraged. The gifts are tools for building up, not for showing off. So, is speaking in tongues really in the Bible? Absolutely. It's described as both a miraculous public sign and a private prayer language, always as a work of the Holy Spirit. The Bible shows that not everyone will speak in tongues, and that the gift comes with responsibilities, especially clarity, order, and love. The ultimate test of any gift is how it builds up the church in unity and encouragement. Whether as a bridge between nations or a personal way to connect with God, tongues point to God's living presence. The story of tongues is one of hope, inclusion, and God's Spirit at work, then and now.